It's not just anger, it's a silent cry for help. Have you ever been so angry that you couldn't even recognize yourself? A careless word that ruins a relationship. A single scream that forever changes the look in a child's eyes. A slammed fist on the meeting table that silences the whole room and slowly pushes people away. We thought we were just mad, but in truth, we were crying for help. Anger is often not a sign of strength. It's a mask, a cover for a soul that's been deeply scratched. Those who are quick to anger might be those who've endured too much, without ever being held. We live in a world that constantly pushes. Be excellent, be fast, be strong, but no one ever taught us when it's okay to be soft. No one taught us how to sit with the silent storms inside our minds. A father once said, "I don't want to yell at my child, but I don't know any other way to make them hear me." Behind the yelling was helplessness. Behind the shouting was an inner chaos begging for understanding. As Master Min Naeem once said, behind every outburst of anger lies a fear that hasn't been understood. So if you've ever been impulsive, said things you regret, or felt yourself boiling over, please, don't hate yourself. You're not a bad person. You might just be exhausted. And what you need is not more judgment, but a way home. This journey today isn't about being more obedient. It's about becoming more aware. Not about suppressing, but transforming. Not about running away from anger, but stepping into it, listening, and healing. The root of anger. A soul pushed beyond its limit. Anger is often not a personality trait. It's a signal. A red flag that we've been stretched for too long. A young mother once yelled at her 5-year-old son for spilling a glass of water. The child burst into tears. And so did she, burying her face in her hands. She didn't hate her child. She was simply exhausted from days of caring, earning, managing, and never having a moment for herself. Sometimes, anger is just the overflow of a cup already full to the brim. We lash out when we've run out of space inside. We shout because no one hears the whispers of our pain. We explode because something within us is cracking. Epictetus, the Stoic philosopher, once said, "People are not disturbed by things, but by the view they take of them." We often get angry because we feel disrespected. We assume people are being deliberately difficult. We feel unseen, unheard, dismissed. But what if the other person is also just a struggling soul, fumbling through their own chaos? And what if we ourselves are simply longing to be understood? Carl Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." If we don't recognize our emotions, they'll take the wheel and drive for us. If we never learn to sit with ourselves, we'll keep exploding at a world that might not even be to blame. So before blaming yourself for being too angry, ask gently, have I been holding in too much for too long? Am I exhausted, and no one has asked if I'm okay? You don't need to become someone who's always calm. You just need to become someone who asks, what is this anger really hiding? When inner chaos becomes outward behavior, we often focus on the behavior and forget the root. Someone quick-tempered might just be sleep-deprived for weeks. Someone who snaps might be living in mental chaos and emotional fatigue. We see someone shouting and label them as toxic. But if we look closer, we might see someone who can no longer hold their storm inside. Disorder isn't always loud. It can look like constant fatigue no one notices. Like a mind endlessly calculating, analyzing, defending. Like a heart that has forgotten what rest feels like. I once met a manager, smart, sharp, highly capable, but during a major meeting, he suddenly smashed his laptop because a wrong file was opened. I didn't see a hothead. I saw someone who had crossed the limit, yet didn't know how to ask for help. Eckhart Tolle said, "You are not your emotions, but if you don't understand them, they will control you." A mind in chaos reacts, it doesn't choose. It turns us into strangers, to the people we love most. And after the burst comes regret. After the anger, comes a sorrow we don't know how to name. The first step to peace is not being free of chaos. It's daring to admit, I am in chaos. And that is not a crime. Anger is a mirror, not a weapon. When we get angry, others see the behavior. But we, if we stay quiet enough, can see ourselves. Anger doesn't come from the outside. It comes from old wounds that haven't been heard inside. Someone who always gets mad at being disrespected might have been a child often criticized by their parents. Someone who rages at messiness may have grown up in chaos. Craving control. Anger is not a sin. It's a mirror, a gateway, to see what's really inside. Where am I hurting? Who abandoned me? What am I afraid will happen again? In therapy, there's a concept. Strong emotional reactions are often triggered by old memories. Meaning, what just happened may not fully justify our rage, but what it reminded us of does. Anger is a mirror reflecting our unhealed fears and pain. If we dare to look, it can lead to healing. If we avoid it, it becomes a weapon, hurting others and ourselves. You don't need to be afraid of anger. Just remember, don't let it act in your place. A psychologist once said, anger is not meant to hit others, it's meant to remind you. You need to love yourself more. Acceptance. The first step toward inner peace. Many people say, I have a temper, I just can't control it. But the truth is, you don't need to control it. You just need to recognize it. As Thich Nhat Hanh once taught, when you are angry, do not speak, do not act, just breathe. Why? Because when we're angry, our body releases adrenaline, making our heart race and clouding the mind. Anything we say or do at that moment is being driven by an imbalanced mind. Acceptance doesn't mean agreement. It means acknowledging what's already present. Yes, I'm angry. I'm overwhelmed. I'm not okay right now. And the moment you can say that to yourself, you're no longer ruled by your emotions. You've become conscious, in the middle of the emotional storm. Face a simple practice. When you feel anger rising, place your hand on your chest. Take a deep breath. Gently say, I'm angry, but I choose not to react yet. Anger is raw energy. If you scream, it destroys. If you breathe into it, it becomes a sacred fire, helping you understand yourself more deeply. And from that moment on, a life of calm and clarity begins to open. Pause and observe, a tool to transform anger. In the middle of an outburst, the most precious thing is not an excuse. It's a pause. A single pause can save a marriage. A single pause can preserve the innocent gaze of a child who looks up to you. A single pause can stop your own heart from breaking further. Viktor Frankl, a Holocaust survivor and psychiatrist, once said, between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space lies our power and our freedom. And that power can be trained daily. Small practice, pause and observe. When anger rises, don't speak, don't text, don't decide. Pause. Breathe deeply 3 times. Observe what you're feeling. Is it anger? Injustice? Hurt? Write it down. Just 3 lines. Instead of dumping it on others, pour it onto the page. The more we write, the more we realize we're not truly mad at them. We're angry because we've never been understood this deeply. A friend of mine, a CEO, destroyed 2 relationships because of uncontrolled rage. Until one day, he began writing an anger journal every time he felt triggered. After just 2 months, he discovered 80% of his anger came from childhood fears of abandonment, not from the person in front of him. When you choose to pause, you're not losing. You're simply choosing to win over yourself. With mindfulness, compassion, the medicine for anger. Not everyone is born knowing how to manage emotions, but anyone can learn to look at an angry person with different eyes. When someone shouts at you, remember, it's not just their voice. It may be the voice of a child once abandoned, the cry of someone who was overlooked, hurt too many times, and sometimes that person is us. As Master Min Naeem once said, the one who causes us pain is not the other. It's the part of us that still doesn't know how to love ourselves. We get angry easily when we've never been truly held. We trigger pain in others because there are still open wounds inside us. A practice in compassion. Each time you feel anger, instead of yelling, why did they do this to me? Ask, what am I needing right now that's not being met? Maybe it's the need for respect, the need to be heard, the need to be loved authentically. And then, turn inward, gently tell yourself, I see you, I know you're hurting, but we don't need to hurt anyone else just to release it. True compassion begins with understanding ourselves, before expecting others to do the same. Breathing, meditation and rest. softening the mind. Many people ask, how do I stop being angry? Chaotic? Reactive? I don't send them to a skills class. I simply ask, have you been sleeping enough? Have you taken one deep breath today? Have you given yourself a single moment of stillness? A mind that is constantly triggered is like a tightly stretched string. It will snap, sooner or later. We can't expect inner peace when our sleep is broken, our breath is shallow, and our body is drained. Thich Nhat Hanh once said, "You cannot stop the storms outside, but you can calm the storm within." Pushpin 3 small practices to try. 1. Practice abdominal breathing for 3 minutes each morning. Place your hand on your belly. Feel your breath go in and out. 2. Sit in stillness for 5 minutes before bed, no phone, no news, just sit. 3. Have one silent evening a week after dinner, for you and your loved ones to simply be. One person, who had suffered anxiety for 10 years, told me, I didn't need medication anymore after I learned how to breathe properly. Because truly, we don't need to fight anger. We just need to nurture the peace that's already within us. With moments of real breath, real rest, and real presence. A story. The CEO of WHO learned to be calm in the eye of the storm. He was the CEO of a major corporate group, once nicknamed the man who feared nothing. But only those who worked closely with him knew he was terrifying when angry. If someone presented a report out of order, he would throw the printed file at their face. If a partner responded too slowly, he'd immediately cancel the entire collaboration. One day, during a live TV interview, a tough question from the host triggered his temper. He growled, slammed the table, and within hours, the video went viral, not because of what he said, but because the world saw a leader lose control. His career began to spiral downward. And strangely enough, that's when he decided to attend a meditation retreat. At first, just to repair his image. But after 3 months, something inside him began to shift. He shared, I used to think strength meant making others afraid. But then I learned, true power is when people trust you, without needing to fear you. He began sitting in silence for 10 minutes every morning. Whenever anger rose, he didn't react immediately. He wrote it down. Every week, he scheduled a lunch with someone he had once snapped at, just to apologize. After 1 year, it wasn't his company that made a breakthrough. It was him. He was no longer a victim of his own anger. And he said something I'll never forget. I used to have power. Now I have peace. And peace is the only power that truly lasts. Five simple daily habits to cool the inner fire. You don't need dozens of emotional control techniques. You just need to start with small things, done consistently. Like water, quietly soaking even the hardest soil over time. Pushpin here are 5 tiny but powerful practices you can start today. 1. Drink water slowly when you feel heat rising. It helps cool your brain and creates a natural pause before you react. 2. Take a 15-minute walk without your phone. Let your feet move gently, so your mind can rest and your emotions settle. 3. Listen to soft music each morning before doing anything else. This reprograms your brain to begin the day without stress or negative news. 4. Write down 3 things you're grateful for before sleeping. A simple way to end the day with a sense of fullness, instead of regret. 5. Send one kind message to someone each day. When you plant gentleness, you water your own calmness. You don't need to become a meditation master. You just need to become someone who lives with intention, day by day. Like a garden. It doesn't need to be flooded, just watered regularly. And it will bloom. Shedding Tree Part 10. Don't wish to never be angry. Wish to understand your anger. Here's a profound truth. Anger will return. No one lives without ever feeling it. Even the Buddha, in the sutras, once spoke of moments when he felt unsettled. The real question is not, do I still get angry? But rather, each time anger comes, do I understand it a little more? Emotions are like waves. You can't stop the waves, but you can learn to surf without being swept away. Eckhart Tolle wrote, emotions don't need to be eliminated. When they are clearly seen, they dissolve on their own. Anger is the same. It comes to say, there's something in you that needs to be seen, understood, and healed. So from now on, don't aim to become someone who never gets angry. Just be someone who, when the fire rises, recognizes it, and chooses not to cause harm. That alone is already a big step forward. Because an awakened person is not someone who feels nothing, but someone who doesn't let emotions run their life. Peace is not a destination, it's a daily practice. We often think that peace is a place we'll reach someday. When no one upsets us anymore, when life is calm, when everything is within our control, then we will finally be at peace. But the truth is, peace doesn't come from circumstances. Peace is how we walk within those circumstances. There's a timeless saying, when the mind is at peace, the world is at peace. It's not because life has no storms. It's because we've stopped being swept away by every wave. A woman once shared, "Each morning I wake up and my mind feels like a tangled mess of wires. But instead of rushing into my to-do list, I sit, just for 5 minutes. I breathe, I look out at the balcony. I let the sunlight enter my thoughts, before the day pulls me in." And something beautiful happened, that whole day. She didn't explode, not even once. Even though, nothing outside had changed. Because peace doesn't mean the absence of challenge. It means, in the middle of the challenge, your heart stays rooted. Carl Jung once said, "One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious." And anger, chaos, they are the darkness. If we're brave enough to walk through it, we'll rediscover the light within. So if today, you still feel angry, still overwhelmed, don't be afraid, don't blame yourself. You're on the journey. And every journey has its turns. All that matters is, don't turn your back on yourself. Closing. One calm soul can soften a whole day. Maybe you're not the softest person. That's okay. You just need to be the one who pauses before reacting. Just one person in a home who remembers to breathe can dissolve the whole family's anger. Just one person who stays calm in a meeting can ease the fear in the entire room. Just one person in the world who chooses love instead of hate, and the world becomes a little less cold. That person could be you. You don't need to be a saint. Just a human, learning to understand themselves a little more each day. You don't need to try to become the calm one. Just be who you are, but a version that is coming home. A version that knows how to hold their emotions. A version that pauses before hurting anyone. A version that softens before everything spins out of control. This world doesn't need more perfection. It needs more people who dare to breathe slowly, who dare to walk against the stream of reactivity, and who dare to sit still when there's a storm within. Seedling, if you've listened this far, then maybe, deep down, you're longing for a gentler life, a quieter space, within all the noise. We know life isn't easy. But if you're tired, overwhelmed, or so angry that you don't even want to speak, leave a comment. Let us hear you. You are not alone, and sometimes, all it takes is one person brave enough to understand themselves. For everything else to start shifting. If this video has touched you, we invite you to subscribe to Anne Sang Ben Trong, so you don't miss the next journey of healing and awakening. Because sometimes, one gentle reminder can save an entire day from falling apart.